Okay, that's your opinion.
He's come up with opinion and chased Steve out.
No, he didn't.
What was he gonna do? He didn't have an amended budget.
What do you have? Do you have a budget or not? What do you
I have
have
a
now?
budget.
Well, give it to us so we can work on it. And you have the changes? Is Steve gonna tell us the changes you made to the
Yeah,
budget?
he was gonna do it, that's what we're here for. What do you think?
Well,
we're
okay,
here for?
sit down. Let's get going here. Let's.
No.
What do you mean no?
No.
Let's get going. Come on.
Do your budget. You do your budget.
You have to do something with that budget, and you don't want to do it. What, are you being a baby now? Why are you being a baby?
I'm not
Why are you being a baby?
being a baby, I'm going by your advice.
He wanted. You're not even giving him the code.
You guys walked out.
You're not giving the code. Give us your amended budget, and we'll work on it today.
I'm not giving you the code, I showed it to him. I made him read it, but he doesn't happen to have a copy of it. It's the optional plan B, here, optional plan. This is,
Okay, I'm fine with that. We're
You
fine.
see what
could
does it say
submit
there?
an
What does it
amended
say
budget.
there?
You could submit an amended budget. I'm
right,
fine with that.
right.
Let's do it. Let's do it. There's
Where's
people here
Steve?
waiting, and they want to help.
Okay, Steve.
It's fine. Submit your amended budget. We'll go from there.
Is that optional? Optional plan.
Optional plan B is the same as A, except you must have an administrative department.
Exactly, I have to.
Okay, well then
I'm
that's
not
what it is.
arguing that.
That's the difference.
That's the only difference. Well, optional plan A that I have doesn't have that section in, so that's why I was asking
This
you
is,
for a copy of it.
this is the law,
That's why we
right
wanted
here.
a copy of it.
That's what he gave me.
No, this is what Chris gave you.
Yeah, but that's,
The
this stuff.
municipalities general.
Yeah, that's different.
Okay,
This
Joe,
goes back,
we're
I'm
fine
showing
with
you
that.
back here, this is no good. They're optional plan municipalities, under there.
Okay.
And then it goes back to here,
Okay.
which is optional plan A, and then B follows A,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But in A, which we follow,
Exactly.
is the budget, right there.
Yeah, and I have that.
Okay, you're amending the budget. That's fine.
Yeah.
I misunderstood you to
submit
say it was a
amended
new.
budget.
You said a new budget when when I first
No, I
talked to you.
did not.
You said a new budget. I'm
I
telling
did
you.
not say a new budget, I didn't say two words.
Well,
Whoever said it.
it's okay. It's an amended budget. Okay, let's.
Could we just work on it then, instead of arguing right
Yeah,
now?
let's
I
go
think we
work.
would be better off if we
Let's
just
go.
worked
Let's
on it.
work on it.
No, we wouldn't. We should argue it out.
No.
Maybe you'll learn, if you argue it out, maybe you'll learn the third-class city option
Okay.
plan.
Let's just work
There.
on it.
No, we don't have copies of it.
Here, this way you won't throw it at us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dear God,
Can you get through?
I know. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I'll call to order this work session on January 16th. It's 6:23.
We don't have a 307.
Well, maybe there's a condition, but we'll work on that. This is an amended budget. Okay, Steve, what changes are these from the original budget, Steve? Could you tell us?
I think this,
Or the main ones?
the main change in this is that I don't want to speak for the mayor, but if you're asking me, the main change in this.
Okay,
There's a lot of things over here. I mean, it's basically on the right side.
you
right?
are
Yeah,
speaking
he's-
for the mayor right now, right?
Let me just,
You're-
Is this all the changes over here?
their
What-
descriptions, yeah.
What was
yeah.
submitted?
These are descriptions
Well, let
of
me,
any
let me
changes.
just tell you about this budget in the beginning. It's slightly more than last year's budget. It's practically the same almost. We tried to stay in line with it. The only reason it's a little more than last year's budget is because we are figuring in the parking authority, correct? Plus some minor contract raises. This budget, when we put it together, it's a 9 million. It's up 300, I think. The stormwater fee was not approved for this year. Last year, you voted against it, you voted against it. Last year, this was not my idea, the stormwater. We did put a stormwater together because you guys directed us to do so. We're not in favor of a stormwater. I never was. It's too complicated in a sense. It also is too costly to implement, too costly to collect, and too costly to manage because there's appeal process, which naturally is going to cost money. So this actually, by what we're doing and what we tried to do last year and we want to do this year, is to put it all in the millage where it belongs. The millage is a simpler, easier way for the budget. We hope that, we know we'll get $5,000. Another thing about stormwater is we're not sure what we'll collect anyway. We don't know what we'll bring in. And a lot of the stormwater buildings are like $12.50, and that's going to be difficult to collect and also impossible to fight for. It would cost you 10 times as much to fight for it than to get the $12. So all in all, this budget seems to be pretty good. Most everything's in it that we can think of. We went over and over with departments' heads and all, and we've come up with what we have here. This budget does, if it was the amount of money coming in and the amount of money that came in last year, is no increase in taxes.
No increase.
It wouldn't be an increase in taxes. It will be an increase in millage, but you would have the other one, the storm to deal with, so.
Wait, back up, Joe. What,
The
you're saying
storm
no increase
was,
in taxes?
no, well, there is an increase in the millage because we eliminated the storm. Otherwise, they'd have to pay the storm, or, you know. It's, here's what I want to say. Last year, we put the budget together. We worked hard on it, and we came in the black. Why would anybody want to change what we have right now? That was our theory going into it. We looked it over again, we polished it up, and we're submitting it back again, almost the same budget, and we feel that we could probably do it again this year. There will be some money extra from last year, but that was mainly because of things we did. And one of the things we did was found out that the sanitation, the sewer transmission wasn't billed in, was it 12 and 13, right? They billed in 13.
The sewer?
Yeah,
The sewer was not.
it wasn't.
Was not in 11.
So we found that. We found some EIT that wasn't billed, and so we had some money coming in, but so 13 on the books would probably show maybe a surplus.
I brought you $400,000 for the commercial store because he didn't know about it, and I asked him to bill it, and that's how we got that money, Joe.
Okay, you can have the credit for it if you want it, but we, oh, well,
226.
yeah, okay.
226
I don't care.
Was billed out for 11
Right.
and 12.
was not billed out.
It had not
Yeah,
been billed out.
not
so
billed out.
And why is that, or why?
It is now, it is
But
now.
why wasn't
Because it was on Wilkinson.
It was
Wilkinson never
And
billed out.
Wilkinson really, you know, and I have to say this. Lou Bartlett always got up here and said that we had an increase in population and the EIT tax stayed stagnant. Well, in my opinion, and what we've seen, I think is Don Wilkinson just gave us the same amount and never gave us what we should have gotten.
They weren't doing their job on it.
Absolutely. We went from what was it, 200 some thousand, what was it, and then we went to
The-
one,
We went from.
1.4 million.
1.45 to
every year
1.92.
1.9 million.
Yeah.
Collected this year. and then
for $500,000 more. How could that be? You know, it should be an increase.
Same
It
happens
wasn't.
with the school district.
Because Berkheimer took it over. Yeah, Berkheimer took it over, and then his checks start coming in and explaining what it's for, and Don Wilkinson would send a check every now and then. You never knew it was for EIT, but they didn't explain what it was for. So, having seen that, I think Lou was right in his complaint, but Wilkins was the reason.
When they're
And
out
not
of
under the, you know, we were thinking a lot of people, which happens, a lot of people get paid under the table, and illegals and that was probably, would have went up more, but Don Wilkinson did not give us the money. That's my opinion only, but look at the numbers and you'll see the difference in 1 year.
But
So-
if you remember back too, Joe, 2 years ago, I kept sending emails to everyone that Don Wilkinson were not collecting his money.
Yeah.
This was when Mary Ellen was here, we should be working on this, talking to them, suing them, doing whatever, that was 2 years ago, I
Well,
mentioned
Jack,
that.
even
And I have
before,
emails for that.
even before that, you
Yeah,
were the,
well,
you were the alternate with me when we
Yeah,
went up,
well-
and I did not want Don Wilkinson to be the county's,
I
and we
didn't vote
fought
on
for
it,
it, but-
they didn't
yeah.
get my vote, I voted for Keystone.
and then they turned around and
I
brought
voted
them
for
in.
Keystone at that meeting.
Right, and they're belly up, so,
What, it
But
is,
if I could, just one of the things that's an advantage is a budget was submitted to council November 1st
Right.
as required by city code. The budget amount at that time was $8,921,528 was the general fund amount. Now, it being the end of the year, it's actually some benefit to some extent that we were using numbers from October in terms of revenue and expenditures and having to extrapolate out the rest of the year and use those. But now we have some better numbers at the end of the year. So I was able to refine the budget expenditures and revenue to more closely match, I hope. So the proposal, this amended budget that's given to you now, calls for a general fund revenue and expenditures of $9,022,520. So it's about a $100,000 increase in the revenue side and in the expenditure side. We did spend a lot of time, as the mayor mentioned, with each of the departments, really going over what their needs might be, what do you need, what's this for, what do you
did you ask any departments as far as where they could cut and where they could maybe save money? Did you go that way instead of the other way, saying what you need, how about what you could do without?
Well, I guess what
first we asked for what they need, and of course, they want their Christmas list.
Well,
Then
yeah,
we
Joe.
cut it back.
Well,
Then we work it back. Then we go into it, and what can you do, and why is this up, and how come there's so much overtime? And this is how we work.
overtime is a big problem.
Well, overtime is a big problem, yeah, because some contracts require it. There's overtime
Now,
spent.
some of the things, just from, I wasn't here to see this directly, but what it looks like, looking back at some of the budgets over the past number of years, that numbers are put together of expenditures that everybody feels that this is a realistic expenditure proposal. The cuts are made to that after the fact, and the administration's done the same thing. Police department cut your budget 30,000. So you take vehicle repairs from 20,000 down to 10,000. You cut overtime from 200,000 to 150,000 to make the budget work, but they're not realistic numbers because they can't operate.
Well, okay, but realistic numbers, that's what I've been saying for the last 5 years about realistic numbers. And when the audit came out, it proved me right that the numbers were all wrong.
Well, some of that was the
Yeah.
crediting out of things.
That's
but
the other
what I'm
question.
netting out.
How are we doing this without our audit for, we don't have an audit for the previous year. That's not good.
For
We
12.
don't have our audit for 12.
12.
Yeah.
Let me just say this, Jack.
Go
The
ahead.
auditor is yours. We don't audit ourselves. You audit us. You hire the audit. It's your audit. Why aren't you following up?
You signed an extension with them
No,
the 1 year. You did
No.
sign an extension. You
no, I
sign-
did, no,
you
no,
signed-
no. Never signed an extension.
You signed a paper for them.
To extend it? No.
Couple years ago.
Why would I extend it? I've been moaning, why isn't it coming here?
Okay.
Why didn't you give me permission to sign it? What the hell, why would I sign it?
Contact with Bob Moore. I have 1,001 emails. Every time I talk to him, it's pretty
But
soon. But
My point is, even though you're doing that, it's yours. I mean, don't question me why the audit's not in. I mean, the audit's against me. It's supposed to, we're not supposed to be involved. We give them the information and that's it. But you guys hire him, you guys put him there, and you guys have to make sure he gets it done.
He was already there before.
Well, yeah, he has a couple-year contract.
But he complains that he can't follow because of the lack of transfers. That's was made, and he's had that in everyone in
I would
his
want
letters.
him in this room
Yeah.
to answer these questions, because
If he's
Right.
using that as a
That's
reason,
not an
that
excuse.
can't be,
That
that
is
can't
not
be
an
the reason.
excuse.
That
And-
can't be the reason.
And excuse me, what I meant by realistic, if you chop gasoline expenditures for the police department by $10,000, realistically, the previous year they spent 40,000 and you make it 30,000, how are you gonna make those cars more efficient? You're not. It's a way to chop, to artificially cut a budget, and that's not the way to do it. There may be different ways to make some cuts, but that isn't the way. And if you look at all these items, look at what's overspent, and it's the same things every year, because those are what they cut to make the budget work.
But
Let me
Steve,
suggest one
we
thing.
said right from the beginning, they're not realistic budgets. We need
We
real.
had, let me just
but
say
if the
this,
revenue
we had
is-
a realistic budget, and we've always had a realistic budget. The budget you people are talking about is 11.
Yeah.
That's the one that they came in, and it wasn't, that was not my budget.
That budget showed
That was
6 million.
Barletta, he was here in 10.
That showed
He
6
did the
million in
budget.
expenditures, and the expenditures were really 8 million. So
Right.
there's $2 million that was not.
And not that he was at fault or
This
anything,
is
I'm
very
not blaming
close.
him or anything
But
like
here's,
that.
here's
but
one of the
it
problems
wasn't
that I,
bad.
here's one of the problems that I'd like to take a look at. And I think that we need to, you know, there is money that comes in during the course of the year that we need to take a look at. Of course, case in point, there were, I remember being attended at one of the meetings when the chief of police mentioned, what was it, around $100,000 to $150,000 that came in. Towards the end of the year, there was another near $300,000 that came on in. There was a much smaller portion, 20, 30,000 that came in closer to the middle. I understand that you can't put all that towards hiring new police or to do things that you'd want to. Sometimes they're obligated to. But for example, there are some things that are able to be done with cars. They could have been, that I think we need to consider when money like that comes on in, instead of just allowing police, let's say, to utilize everything within that fund, and I don't know, I'm suggesting, okay? But if you have that money that comes on in, to take some of that money and use it on what was here in the budget, which allows you then to take some of the money and transfer it around to places where you're hurting.
I think it
And
said-
or at least to put it
I think
more
it
so,
says
Joe,
it
into
that-
some
I
of the
think it
police
says
that
it in
goes.
Seizure.
With the seizure money
Seizure money.
regulations, you can't use it to supplement.
Well, there are things like cars and all that we've been purchasing that I've seen seizure money get used
The
for.
cars are a part
Now,
of it.
the city did get $157,000 in a payment that came in through the courts because of the tax.
Right.
And that was given to council, they did a transfer on that back in February.
Where did that go? That went into the.
That
general
went
fund?
into cars.
It went to police,
It went to their 4 cruisers. for
no, it
the
went to
lease.
the 2 police officers that were hired.
No, it was the 2 police officers that you guys hired.
Right.
2 police officers and a
That one
fireman.
went up
Right.
A fireman that was leaving, we cut them out of the budget for the rest of the year, and this restored that back for Palumbo, I think, left. But just as a point, the 2013 budget showed $8,681,000 in revenue and expenditures. The year-to-date, again, without any adjustments, is $8,716,000. So that's about $50,000 at the end of the year it's about 50,000 more revenue than was budgeted. So I think that's, out of an $8.6 million budget, that's pretty close, plus or minus, where previous years it might have been a $6 million budget and they spent $8 million. That's not even close.
Right.
And there were $1 million deficits for years. I think that 13 is a year, whether it ends up in the black, red, whatever it is, it's much closer to being.
Well, 13 had a carry, well, you just don't want to call it a carry.
The budget does not have a carryover.
Well, it was on expended funds from 2012 of 900,000. Okay?
That's not in the budget.
It's not a budget.
It's not in the
No, and it
budget,
won't
but
be in
it
there.
needs to be accounted for.
It is accounted.
You had 900,000 left over at the end of the year, and
Of when?
the 2012, 13.
You don't have 12. You don't have 13.
Wait a minute. We had 900,000, I have the paperwork. This year, we started and we finished, we were supposed to finish, with,
We would have to see that audit.
okay, 1 million.
You definitely
Does
need.
this
We
give
do
you an
need-
idea of
well,
what?
we
Next-
do.
Next
We
week,
want it.
you probably get the same answer.
Okay,
we
we
can't
had
wait around.
$1,273,000.
Well,
In the bank account.
That's in a bank account.
But there
That's not
could
surplus.
be $2 million worth of bills.
Yeah, that's
that we
not-
owe.
But there's not, there was around 300,000 worth of bills.
That was
And
in,
you started
that
using
were
it
in.
in January, okay, with the payments. Because we're down to, what I found with the last amount that you gave me was $1,019,040.
Right.
It's
So,
in the general fund budget
Right.
at the end of this year.
Yes,
Right.
but
I mean, in the bank.
So-
that money just isn't in the air. Yes, it's in the general fund,
Where
but
is
we don't have an accountability of it.
you have
We
the
don't
number, what do you mean?
use-
You have the number.
You have the number, but we don't know where it's being spent or utilized.
It's not being spent. You just told us
It's in our
there.
bank account.
It's our bank account.
No, well, then if it's in our bank account, how did it drop?
We wrote checks.
Well,
Checks,
checks.
okay, so what'd you write checks for?
Payroll for
You have the
bills,
check,
for-
you have the check register. You get it all the time.
This is what I'm saying.
Well,
We
add them
need a
up. We'll
line
see.
item for unencumbered funds, all right, and debt.
No, they're not. They're for debts.
There's a
and
debt fund.
obligations for 13.
For expenditures that we have left over.
You're trying to say that we spent $200,000 outside the budget.
Such
That's
as
not
our
true.
telephone bills at the end of the month that don't get paid until January, things like that. We need accountability, and we need to
We
know.
have a list of what we owe.
Yes,
Does
but we
this-
don't know where the
Does
money
this
is.
budget include any new hires or moving anyone from
Yes.
part-time to full-time? What does it include?
Well, what I could say is, this does include, I think I had sent everybody a chart of all of the employees. I could send an updated version of that. But this takes, because of, I guess, vote of council and whatever other things are taking place, the parking authority will now, the authority is terminated.
In the
and will
process of
become
being
Part of it'll become a division
What
department.
do you, Joe, what does that mean in the process? It's not been totally terminated?
Hey, it's up to the parking authority to terminate. They were given a resolution by council to do it.
So they're,
Now, we
you're
just
saying they're
met,
not
they're not done.
dissolved?
They're not done.
Well,
They
then-
had some problems, but not enough that couldn't have been accomplished. But
do you
what
mean by-
happened is,
Joe, what do you mean by problems? Could you elaborate?
there's leases, 2 leases with the railroad,
There's a lease with the railroad.
yeah. So
That
they have to get that transferred to us, which is like, you're dealing with Norfolk Southern, it's like dealing with the Iranian embassy.
Okay, let's get back to, okay.
Well,
the
anyway,
new hire.
there's been a new date set, and it's April 1st
April 1st.
is gonna be,
But-
unless something outside of that comes up, but I wanted
It's
it,
still not dissolved, shouldn't
I
parking
wanted it
be
by the
paying-
end of the year.
Yeah, I know you wanted it by the end of the year, but, okay.
They're
they
still
can't do it.
operating under their
So they're
own.
paying their
yeah,
people.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we're
Well, no.
scheduled to take the people April 1st.
This was put together assuming that they were
Jack.
working here.
One thing I have to tell you, we pay their people, they reimburse us, right?
No.
No, that's, I'm sorry, that's,
No, the
They're
parking's
totally,
still
that's
totally,
transit,
completely
yeah.
100% separate.
transit, right.
So how
Okay.
is it
Parking,
working?
they
So the
pay their
budget
own
is
people.
That we have their salaries from April 1st on?
No, this budget has them in January 1st. With
We
any,
didn't-
with any budget, you can't, if I did a budget for my home, I have no clue. I couldn't tell you whether I'm gonna end up the year, how much I'm gonna spend next year, or how much I'm gonna get from any source. You have a best guess, best estimate, but it's difficult to know,
But
so.
what I'm
right.
saying
You-
is you
we
have
can't-
those
We put them in there because that was the deadline. They gave us December
I can't
Yeah,
change-
31st.
I can't change
and
the
yeah,
So
but
we
if
put
you
them in.
amended it, this is what I'm asking.
You
If
can't
Well,
change the
we
budget
amended
every
it
week as things
and
change.
left it in because,
So I put them in. They're put in here for the whole year.
yeah. And
So
it's-
that's 4 months worth of salary that we'll have
But
to
it's
play
only
with,
two
so to
people.
speak, money-wise.
But we don't have the revenue that would be associated.
Well, no, they're part-time.
It could be 3 months.
It's the same thing. 'Cause
It's a wash.
It's a
Yeah.
wash. They hope, every year they
Well,
bring in
it's not a wash
300,000.
because we're losing, the parking authority never made money. Ralph, what did you lose the last 3 years?
It was a very fine line.
You lost money
We
though.
lost money the past 2 years.
Was it like 25, 30,000? One was 40?
8 and 12, went from 8 to 12.
Okay, so it didn't make money.
It's not gonna do that when we have it. It's gonna make money.
Well, hopefully.
No, I know that, I'm telling you that.
Why is that?
Because
Ralph's
there's
salary's
things
not
in the,
number one.
we have a lease on the garage, right? We're eliminating a lot of expenses.
Pardon? Okay.
Yeah, his salary's
So
not
what
in there.
about the lease on the garage?
Yeah, well, could you enlighten us on this, or was it gonna?
Well, you
just be
know there's a
surprise?
lease, but I can't give it the specifics yet till I sign the, get
What do you
permission.
mean, do I know what about a lease, Joe?
I can't give you the specifics
So
yet.
we didn't
We're
know-
still in negotiation with it. I don't wanna
Negotiating a lease, okay,
I don't wanna jeopardize it,
Okay,
and when it happens, you'll hear about it. It's pretty close to being done.
well, we should be briefed,
but
and it doesn't have to
it-
be, if it's supposed to be private, you could brief
I
us.
thought they told you
in
about
an-
the lease.
Who told us? Who?
The only
I don't
reason
know.
we
I don't
knew
know
it
anything about
was
it,
even a
other
lease
than
is
You
that-
don't
because
tell me
we-
about it,
they're
and we
looking-
should, Joe, and I'm
Well-
saying, I'm telling you this,
We
we
questioned,
should be abreast of this. You don't have to give us particulars, but
Right.
Jack questioned Attorney Slessor's bills the other evening, and that is how we knew that there was
What-
something, but we
thought
didn't know
they
what it was
told you
about.
no, he did not brief us on it.
All right.
And he should.
Okay.
It's the lease of spaces that will bring in revenue.
Yeah.
Can I make another suggestion here, real quick? And this is off subject, but it's on very much what needs to be done. Mayor, you have a meeting that is with your administrative staff every week,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Could I make a suggestion, please, that I think you have a meeting, yeah, we don't need sunshine laws to be violated by every one of us sitting there, but I really think it would really benefit all of us if you had a meeting with Mr. Monday once a week, so that we could be
Once a
briefed.
week?
Yes, sir. Once a week, that would be briefed on what's going on, and I know that's hard to do sometimes.
Okay.
But
that's a
I
nice
would strongly
suggestion.
encourage
We'll think
that,
about that.
you know?
Thank you. Thanks for that suggestion.
I know that's a toughie. I understand
okay.
that's a toughie.
Well, why don't you-
But
okay,
you know
you could
what?
meet with him once a
Otherwise,
week.
you're not gonna get the information.
Meet with him and Chris in the meeting once a week. Okay, let's move
We'll
on.
try and be a little bit more, open on
Open.
that.
Let's,
Not open, informative, because we are open, but there's some things we just can't discuss.
Joe, I know that. I know the particulars of something, but council has to be informed of what we're going to get thrown
We're
at
not here
us.
to talk about this.
Right, let's do the budget.
All right, yeah, we'll do.
Well, that's part of the budget, Keith. Now,
Yeah.
okay,
They're talking
if the
about
parking
each other.
authority's gonna
No,
bring in money, that
no,
is part of
Jack,
the budget.
last 5 minutes,
and-
you've been talking about everything about that you need to know about the executive branch, what they're doing. What we're talking about here is the budget, not you sticking your foot in the executive branch when they're trying to do things.
I'm sticking
not-
my foot where, this is the budget meeting. They're gonna negotiate a lease that's gonna bring income to the city. I wanna
Right.
know about it.
You don't
You don't
know
wanna know
about it,
about
no.
it, I don't care.
Yeah, this is
That's
a
what we're
legislative
doing.
branch. It's not I know you wanna own the city,
It's
but
money,
this is an
it's money that
executive,
comes
this is
in,
a
and I don't want it,
legislative branch.
I don't want it thrown at us all at once.
And are you responsible for the money in the city, Keith?
Yes,
Are you
I'm not
responsible?
responsible for
We're
negotiating
not
contracts.
negotiating, but we wanna know
You
what
wanna
the
know
money
what the
is.
contract is before it is.
No, we
That's-
wanna know
yes, you
that
do.
they're negotiating a contract and there's a potential to bring
Period.
income to the city, so I could make a decision on this budget. If he's making a
So
decision
what
that he's
happens
gonna
if it
raise the
falls,
budget,
well, okay, so
well,
tell
then
you,
I
he
have to
tells you,
know that.
and then
I
it
have to
falls-
know that.
no,
Yeah, if it
no,
falls apart, I wanna know about
No,
it.
what if it falls apart after you make the
I
decision?
wanna know about it. I
If it
wanna
falls
know,
apart,
I
if you
wanna
make
know
the
about
decision-
everything that happens in the city, you don't.
should
You
wanna
don't.
make a decision on the
You don't
information
wanna.
you
You
know.
wanna just be kept
No.
informed on
You
what you wanna
wanna
know.
know what's information, you should should be making decisions on known information, not anything that might happen or can
That's
consider
the
happen. You
problem.
wanna
That's the
know
whole point of
We
you
don't
what
get
happened.
the information, we weren't privy to it, we weren't part of the majority.
Where was I didn't get it either.
If I, I don't mean
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt, but I
Go
will
ahead.
anyway, but in 2011, the revenue from the parking authority was about $295,000. In 2012, it was about $282,000. 13, I don't know what the numbers were.
Yeah,
Right,
we
no,
had a
I
lot
was
of
gonna
meters.
explain that, so
A
this.
lot of meters out of service.
This 13, I don't know what their numbers were. For 2014, the proposed budget for revenue from the parking authority, assuming we had taken that over January 1st, I budgeted $315,000. So it's about a $25,000 increase over some of the previous years. The reason for that, as Mr. Vito mentioned, is the Broad Street has basically been shut down for a couple of years in terms of parking revenue. Because of the project.
The meters were gone.
And there's some additional revenue anticipated to come in from some lease arrangements that might be made. So the 25,000 is the increase in revenue. So we're looking at 315,000.
The mayor is in the process of moving money over from the one parking garage, from the
Yeah.
LSA into the Wyoming Street garage.
Right.
Now, the Wyoming Street garage will be under renovation. Will we lose money until it's completed?
I don't think so. I don't think
No,
the way
because
it's,
it's not,
the way it's gonna be.
it's not full at all, right?
No, it's not full right now, it'll be done in stages, and there's an empty parking lot right next to, the bank.
But it won't be shut down.
Has overflow, so everybody will be,
Accommodated.
there'll be a plan coordinated.
And additional spaces are going to be created as well.
Where are those spaces at?
That's
I think on
fine.
Chestnut.
No, thank you.
My other question, okay, the sewer, the 450
put
from the
angle
sewer
parking on
that was
Chestnut.
on the previous budget that your majority voted on, is that part of this budget? Are they using it?
There is no stormwater revenue for, in this
Okay,
budget.
the 450, but that they allocated
You're talking
to
about
put down the
sewage
debt.
transfer.
Oh,
Yeah, the sewer
Transmission.
transmission.
no,
No,
I didn't.
we
I'm
didn't put it
assuming-
in
What to
there.
do?
I would,
You're assuming that's there.
my recommendation would be that was 1.3 mils was the debt fund
Yeah.
amount. If you look in the debt fund, we have two debt
You're
payments
back
to make.
to what it was.
I think it should remain at 1.3, would be the administration's recommendation.
No, he's talking about now, the surplus.
Right.
And what do you wanna
Four-
do with that
Where's
490,000?
that surplus money gonna
That
go?
would be the choice of
Oh,
whoever to do whatever with.
So you
I think it would legally have to be looked at what could be
Yeah.
done with that.
You can only use it for debt service.
I don't know about
Oh,
that.
no.
We're still looking into
We're
the
still looking at-
legality, but we would like to use
Attorney
it.
Bast here says you can't do it.
No,
So
that's
he
what
says,
Attorney
he
Slusser
says you can do
and-
whatever you want.
Okay,
The
And
attorney-
although the auditor at a meeting said you shouldn't do it, and I went along with you and Steve,
You
said we
shouldn't.
shouldn't do it.
Right.
But
And
your
then I talked to
majority,
the auditor, and the
your
auditor
majority-
said
Okay.
that you
wanted to
can
screw
do
the
that
city, did that.
because there's no obligation
yeah,
by
we
the
talked to
city.
the auditor afterwards.
Yes, I did.
talked to him at the public meeting, he said you shouldn't do it, and you
Because
just
he
went
didn't
ahead
know
with it.
about the problems.
Yeah, he didn't know about a lot of
He
things.
did not know that we had no obligations to the sewer
You get a
authority.
written opinion from him.
I think we do have some obligations.
Yes, we do.
We do.
This,
That's what this-
if
No,
I
I
might
think-
add,
Well, that's what they're
That
saying.
we're
They're
trying
saying
to-
there's
we're
obligations, you're
trying to
saying
u-
no.
We're trying to utilize this money, but we want to
I'm
do it
agreeing with you,
legally,
Joe.
and we want to do it to ease debt on the city.
I'm agreeing with you.
we're,
I'm agreeing with you, I'm disagreeing with,
these
Friends.
budgets show each fund to fund itself based on revenue coming in, and whatever the council, if there's 450,000, if that's applied one way or another,
okay,
that's
so,
your, that's
so
someone's
that
choice.
is in your, that is in the budget here to decide what we're gonna do with it.
That money, 450,000, that's sitting in the sewer transmission fee is still in
In
there.
this amended
Still.
budget,
It
okay.
is,
No,
it is not the
Not
budget.
in there.
It's in the bank.
Okay, but it's in the bank account, okay,
bank
so it's not, okay.
It's a side.
So-
And
we're
whatever could
deciding
legally be done
If we
with
can
it.
use it for certain items, we're gonna do it and alleviate debt.
I'm fine with that, Joe, I'm fine with that,
And
I
we
agree
will,
with you.
we will keep you aware.
I agree with you
All right.
for once, but
Thank you.
putting that in there now, this is your amended budget. You're amending the budget that we had, so are you videoing that budget, or this is just an amendment to the
The
budget?
tax rates that were approved might either have to be looked at, or this would have to be changed to
I'm
show
giving you,
that revenue.
I'm allowed to give you an amended budget, and I gave you an amended.
Okay, this is an amended budget,
Correct.
okay, okay.
What I do with the other one,
It could still be applied to that.
If you pass this and go through with this, or do what you want to with it, the other budget is
Okay.
mute. To me, it's a budget that's flawed, because there's not enough
Well, then say the 10-day
appropriations
package or 20-day
to carry the budget, and that should have been done.
I voted no for that, so I agree with
I know.
you. I agree,
Right.
again, we're agreeing.
Excuse
Okay.
me, Joe, would this take a 10-day between readings then, or 20-day?
This is to be, it says it right in there,
Be 10.
that you have
It's
to
an
do it
amendment. It's
exactly,
Amending.
It's a
exactly
10-day.
like, yeah.
It's a 10-day.
10-day, 'cause it's a-
I just
Exactly
wanted
like
to
the
know,
other one.
to be
Okay,
sure.
10 days,
Time,
okay.
you can discuss it, you can do it on 3 readings, probably.
So the 315 in revenue is put in from the parking, and then their people would be moved into various departments. There's
Okay, my question before, are any of those people getting increases from the previous pay that they made the previous year?
No, no.
not according to the rates that they're being paid currently is what is in the budget.
No, what did
No,
you
no.
budget for next year? Did you
What they were
increase any of
getting at the
their-
parking authority, they're getting here.
Well, I don't know if I could, Jeff, now, you had that sheet, some of those, there were some increases for those people.
Who got increases? They could have did it.
That's what they told me, the people are getting paid in the hours they work, is I put into here. I don't know
Right.
what they got at the parking
When
authority.
did they get increases?
Well, I don't know.
I
So you're
was
saying,
told that the office person worked 30 hours a week.
Right.
The Danny who worked in maintenance, Deb,
Debbie,
I was told.
what's her name? On the old W-2s I
Mark.
have,
Oh, she
I have
Stringent?
I had
She went back-
hyphenated name.
It's
She
Martin
went back to
Stringent.
her, she's divorced.
Okay, she went back to her
Metz.
maiden name, okay.
Oh, I think I put Martin, which
Metz,
is incorrect.
Cometz,
It's
Cometz.
Cometz.
That's her real name. Well, they have
Metz.
Martin,
I have the wrong
but on
name.
the W-2s, it's her,
Cometz.
I have her wrong.
and she's part-time.
30
Yeah,
hours a week.
30 hours.
Okay. And she would be the same next year.
Everybody
Right.
is, I put everybody in at the rates that I was told they're making.
Okay, how about Frankie, the guy that's coming into your department?
I
Yeah,
have him
what,
at
is
40.
his salary the same as?
Yeah.
$16 an hour, 40 hours.
And
Okay.
what's he doing in your department?
Is he doing the same thing he did before?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so you
He's doing the
just
same thing he did with the
incorporated it
parking
into the-
authority, unless he has spare time,
Yeah.
Frankie
Because he has enough to.
can use them.
Put her name on that other sheet.
We're keeping all the part-timers then, 3 part-timers?
No.
Okay, so-
Well, yes,
Yeah.
they are being kept. That
Yeah,
could be.
but no. Yes, we are, keeping all the part-timers.
Does anybody know what the expense, not that you would, but, I mean, you are moving money over into the, Dominic, this would be, into the parking garage and Wyoming Street for repairs. What is the total cost you expected to run? Because you're moving 1.9.
We moved 1.6,
1.6.
yes, and that's what we thought it would cost, so we won't know that until the specs go out and the bids come in
When are we gonna do that, Joe?
by the end of the month.
End of the month.
And if it should run over, where do we get the money from?
We don't do it, we cut certain things out. We're not going, we can't. It's money that we ask to transfer, we think
You don't have the money to
sufficient
do it
amount of
after.
money. We think
Dominic, do
it's,
you think that's enough money, that 1.6 million?
I think it's too much.
I think it's sufficient. We're gonna have a different,
And when are you gonna go out for bids for that?
End of the month. And that's very important, because the lease goes on that. If it's not repaired, they're not gonna sign the lease, so,
So there's a deadline.
no. When it's done, that's when the lease starts.
Okay, so the quicker we
Quicker
do
we
that,
get
the
it
quicker
done.
we got
Yeah,
revenue. Okay,
right.
well, that's good to know. I wanna know that, because.
Being transparent.
Because I wanna know that, because that affects our budget, so I should know that.
Well, you don't think of those little things, but
I know you don't
I
think
threw
those
it
little
out here
things, but-
for you. Just to keep you happy.
This is the board of directors. You're the chairman, and we're the board. We have to know as much as you should know. Yeah, you're gonna make decisions and negotiate
Lots happens.
contracts, but we should know at least that you're
Lots
negotiating
happens
a
in
contract.
this city, and you do things, and I do things, and I think everybody knows.
Well-
I do that in my house too. I tell everybody, and I don't tell my wife. It's like, I thought I told her.
So the variable is really if this goes through and the filing is done and the railroad is the glitch.
Yeah.
So
It's not a glitch, it's just time consuming.
Time consuming.
Time, they'll do it, because the lease in itself, and this is my explanation, if the parking authority was to fail, we'd have to take
the
it
other
anyway.
thing,
It's $500 and some dollars, or $650 a year is
A
the
year.
lease amount.
So it's not a,
now, the other thing, maybe I'll direct this to you, Keith. I know in the last budget, we had that the parking authority would throw off 100,000, and that's what you guys had come up with. Is that true or not true? Or was there a way we were gonna get to that?
That was his.
No, that was your budget. You voted for that.
no, I didn't do that, you did that.
Yeah.
You came up with
they did
100,000.
that.
was 2 years.
Yeah, no, it was
No,
last
no,
year.
no, that was for
They
last
came up
year.
with 200 in logging and 100 in a parking.
How are we gonna get 100
and
in parking?
We're not, it's over.
Well, that's your friend said
Well,
we're
we
gonna get 100.
tried, we
tried
didn't
and
get
it
it.
didn't work.
No, that was in
Okay,
last
okay.
year's budget.
I know it wasn't last year.
Well, we didn't get it. Because,
Oh, that's because we thought that the parking authority was gonna be dissolved in 13.
right, and that, but.
I think
didn't
there's a
work. Okay.
possibility to do that.
So
I
it
think there's
didn't
a-
happen.
If that's absorbed into the city, there's a possibility. They pay for their separate audit, which would be incorporated in our
Yeah,
cost. They pay for telephones, which
Okay.
we have.
So you're saying we would make $100,000?
I think it might be close.
Because that's what they said when we were talking
Because the
about
director's salary is not
You-
in there.
Yeah,
The director's salary wasn't there.
right.
There was a bunch of things that
And
went
we
into
didn't
that.
get the
And you
parking
didn't get the
authority, so-
parking authority.
Their
So it didn't
13
come.
numbers would be more reflective of what they could do. But the revenues are down there too. so- Pardon?
Yeah,
Yeah,
then we get
well-
100% of the meter revenue. That's where it was from.
That's already counted, though. That was
Now
already
it is, no, it wasn't.
counted.
it
We
was
always-
last year.
We always got half of it, which
Yeah.
was always in our
Right.
budget.
Right.
Not 100%.
But their revenue of their expenses of 295, or revenue of 295 included an expense of 50,000 or 58,000 to the city. So they were already expensing that out to us. So we don't gain anything on that item particularly.
We were gaining the other 50%. That wasn't in the
Right,
state.
right.
You,
So we would have gotten 240,000 in revenue because we were already
Yeah.
getting
I can't hear you.
you,
That's where that came from.
On the LSA grant for you to move that money over, do you have a constraint of time? Does it have to be done by this?
No, it's moved.
It's already moved.
It's moved over?
Oh, yeah.
It's moved, but it's not there. They're having an award in February of LSA. That will give us our 4 million. We don't have 4 million there. We only have 3 million there. They gave us permission to move it, but first they have to give us the money to give us the 4.8.
what, is that the fourth year of the four?
Well,
2 million
no,
each year,
that's
or-
another story. This is something that
Of the money.
went on from the 4.8 and the delays and the movement of the property. They Xed us out of the LSA grants. We had to go back down and talk to May. The new law is now they don't give multiple years. They gave us multiple years.
Yeah.
From that, original.
Well, when they changed the law and then we moved the garage to the property, they Xed out the multiple years, which was nice for them, bad for us. So we went down and argued that point and got it reestablished, and at the same time asked them to move. So they said, you have 3 million, we'll move the 1 million when we give it to you in February. So we
Hey,
should
Jeff,
be
you have
awarded.
any questions, Jeff?
I got
Go
lots of
ahead,
questions.
go ahead, shoot,
What?
shoot,
Oh,
we're
I
here.
got a lot. Well, most of Steve got most of mine already. But now, are we gonna make some changes here to some of this stuff that I still don't think is realistic? Like some of these,
Well, let's talk about.
I mean, maybe we-
it.
so,
I don't,
know
I mean, most of the stuff we changed already. So it's-
what do you think is realistic?
Well, it's like according to the actuals from this year, like, I mean, like.
Yeah.
If I could just, maybe something just
Go,
to,
point them out, go ahead.
Put them out to Steve.
maybe if we could just briefly,
The big ones, give us some big ones,
Yeah.
not.
Well, I mean, like mercantile taxes, you still have overstated. I mean, it's not gonna go up that much.
where?
How much?
Line item.
440,000.
Which one, 440, what are we going up to?
Yeah,
What are we up to?
433 year-to-date.
That was that.
Last year was
You're going to
budgeted
450,
450, and I
about
put in 440
17,000
for
more.
next year, so I
it's
decreased that
440.
10,000.
Yeah. So what's the problem there?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Well,
Another
it's
one.
different than the last.
Oh,
okay. I'm okay.
Right,
with
yeah.
that.
That's usually, Jeff, that's usually been our average between,
450,000.
I know, I'm just
four,
looking
it's
at.
about there.
Well, I was just looking at, because I
A
had
new
the other
propo-
budget.
Okay, I'm looking at the one that he's.
What do we
Now,
do?
now, I've actually, that could be probably the biggest area that we could enhance revenue would be to really pursue and look very carefully at the mercantile. I've talked to a company, that's their business is they claim that they could bring us hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional mercantile. I think that's overstated, but
Yeah, I think
there
so.
should be a case to bring in some additional money.
I think
We have to get it.
if we can get this on a consignment thing, I get it.
Well,
then
but
we're
it's
gonna
not fair
try.
to a business if 10 people are paying and 2 people
I
pay
have an
nothing.
idea. Did you check, how about Rinaldi? Is he paying the tax? I asked you that a month ago.
I don't believe he would, I don't know.
No,
I really don't know.
Paying,
Rinaldi,
It's not,
he's making
it's
money,
not,
he's
it's
getting
not
money.
mercantile
I
tax.
mean, the mercantile?
Yeah,
He doesn't have an office in Hazleton or
oh,
something.
no. It doesn't matter whether you have an office or not. If you do work and collect money and make money from wherever you, if a guy comes in, a contractor, and works in the city, he has to pay the mercantile tax. If he does work.
And,
What?
yes.
Yeah,
Right.
so if he's doing work out there and getting money, did you check that, or?
Unless it's not exempt. I haven't
Chris
looked
was
through
working
that
on that.
list.
No, we haven't
The
looked.
whole list has to be
You're
looked at.
supposed to get that and let me know.
I
if
talked,
it's on the
Chris was
property
looking at
tax
that,
rolls.
that's what he was
We did
supposed to
not.
get from me tonight, but
I don't, Jeff, I was asking to talk
Well,
to
I asked about that a month ago.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
are they on the property tax rolls as well? Because it was turned over, the property to them, now they own
They'll
it.
be on, they should get a tax bill this year.
That's what
This
I wanted
Yeah,
to know.
that's, yeah, all them KOZs should be on there this year.
Right, you were gonna, I
Yeah.
think, talk to, so we
Yeah,
have to get with Northeast
Northeast
Revenue. and
Revenue
see
was
what's
looking
on
into
there.
that.
But the mercantile, I think, is a big, big project to take a look at everybody
Yeah,
on
tell
that
them
list and
companies
see,
that-
there are
them
probably
companies should be
companies
able to
that
go
don't
out
pay
there and
anything.
they get it for you.
But anyway,
I
this
think
is what
need
we
to-
would like to do, is get somebody in, if,
So
no,
I've
not
had
to pay them,
conversations.
but give them a portion of the,
I made that suggestion, I've been saying that for a
Okay.
while, Joe, so if you wanna take credit for it, you could, but I said, is Joyce on there? They rented their place out.
what place?
They, across from Jimmy's, they rented that out. This
A
is
lot.
to the state, yeah. Did we collect from them? No.
Not that I know of. They
No,
have to
we should.
report it this year. They have
No,
to
they've been
report it.
collecting that for a couple of years.
From the
They've been
state?
down there. They've been down there
Okay.
year before last.
I have
They-
no idea.
They've been there a couple of years.
No,
They're
I have no
using,
idea.
they're renting their lot
Right, to the state,
and they should be paying
or
mercantile.
not to the
tax.
state.
To
They're renting
whoever.
to the law, to the contractor.
To the contractors.
Right, so I don't know.
Do they pay mercantile on the gross before or on our portion?
Well, I don't know, a lot of that was the state.
Yeah,
What?
I have no idea. We would like to have somebody come in and look at it.
Well, I mean, I think there's the universal agreement that we
Yeah.
could get more money in
yeah.
mercantile tax and
Yeah,
we'll,
I
there's
think
a lot.
everybody knows that.
There's a
yeah.
lot to take a look at on that, but that, so that number's at 440,000, and delinquent, is budgeted for 18,000. And I was trying to look for their,
No, wait, Jeff was asking questions.
yeah, that's what I
Okay,
was
move on.
talking
We'll,
about,
we'll move on to the
budgeted at
licenses and
18,000
permits.
for the new one.
okay?
You got 117,000 this year, you went for 196 last year. Is that the business license?
Let me see, what item is that?
321, 3780.
This is in revenues.
So, yeah, it's
37.
New one.
Licenses, now what has been, if you look on this list that I gave, there's comments that I made. The health license is item number 32 on that list. Item number 3600 is professional and occupational, and there also is a signs and billboards 3760. Those areas are all zeroed out, and everything in terms of licenses is incorporated into one line item at 196,000 is what I was budgeting. She's billed out, already 205 or 208,000 has been billed out to all of those various people, and the collection on that's very good. So I was looking at that, this year's 205, 200.
Last year.
200,
Like that huge dip in collection.
It actually, if this shows revenue of 117,000, actually, there's a journal entry that has to put some money in. She sends the bills out in November, and they're due January 15th, but people will pay in December for the next year, so those are adjusted and moved into 13 by a journal entry. So there's money from 12 that was collected in 12 that needs to be put in here, and it's about 63,000. So that's where 13's actual number, once it's adjusted, should be about 180, pretty close to that. Then Where was this other item? Okay.
All right, what do you got, Jeff?
How about this, the property inspection? Are we gonna get rid of that?
I think I have another one. I have another one.
I think that one should be zeroed out,
Maybe that's.
Property inspection?
the inspection, the rental inspection.
There are two pieces to that. There's a registration charge of $25 per unit.
That's the next one.
There are about 1,500 units roughly that are in the city that would have to pay that. Now, some of them pay more than the $25, depending. There are a few that pay 50, but
That's the one Northeast Revenue collects.
Yeah.
that's $30,000. The property inspections would be done once every 4 years on a typical residential type of a rental property. The fee is $70, and they're 10 trained
That's the one
individuals.
we're getting sued for, right? We're in
Yes,
litigation over it. It was in litigation.
Threatened litigation, and the basis for that was that some comments were apparently made that this is just a money-making scheme on the city's part, but the costs are very well justified in terms of the cost of the inspection, the administrative cost of doing that. It covers pretty close the cost that we would be charging the
I think
people.
it's gonna cost more than $30. We're gonna lose money with that.
The rationale for was that probably the vast majority of rental properties are in great shape. The people are very diligent about keeping their property in good order. But
We may be making some changes to the.
the fire department has said that, I think they went into places and there are too many people in some of the buildings, and it's put an overload on the electrical systems, which could cause fire and things of that sort. But that's something, it's a $35,000 was allocated for this year. That's certainly, I mean, if that's changed, then there'd need to be something else looked at. But that would be something we'd kind of need to know about fairly soon. They're ready to go out and start doing those inspections pretty soon.
Well, there may be, the injunction could be coming too from the people that might be suing us anyway, so it might be a moot point anyway, whether
The
we're gonna
landlords?
make any changes, yeah.
The landlord?
Yeah, they might be getting an injunction, but that's another story.
And they'd have to do
That's
that.
That's an if. I don't, they'll get it. That's an if, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Joyce, do you have some other questions?
So we don't end up short and
When we
we
get
have
to,
to.
I mean, if that was removed, you'd need to make that up somehow or cut that amount.
when we get to miscellaneous revenue, the vector thing there, didn't we commit that money to Hazel Township this year for the plow truck?
The,
Vector?
The vector rental, number 380, 3400.
the vector control is, the city has an officer, has a vector control officer that would go out if you have a skunk in your yard, they'll go out and put a trap out there. The city sells that service to other communities. So Butler Township participates, Hazel Township, everybody, they pay the city what would end up being this revenue, $9,000 some dollars, and that pays for.
Didn't we commit some of that money to Hazel Township
Not
on the
that,
plow truck over there?
not that I'm aware of.
Ask
They-
Frankie. He's been.
Yeah, I don't know.
We have traps.
Do we owe Hazel Township money for the plow truck? On the,
Hazel Township money for the plow.
for the plow truck?
We paid them $18,000.
And
Yeah,
we're
that
not
did-
we're not giving them the vector rental this year for nothing?
No.
Oh.
No, because that charge is the same.
Well,
It probably should be increased. It looks
Well,
like
I'm
it's been the same for the last 5
According
years.
to them, they said that we owe them 1 year of vector rental. I'm just,
I don't, they're,
Have they sent any bills to you, or?
we would send them bills.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
we send them bills.
We send them bills all to the,
They utilize our
Yeah,
service.
they use
Yeah.
our service, and it's, maybe they're not gonna participate in it this year. I hadn't heard anything. But that's who, Mr. Brogan is the
Yeah,
vector
yeah.
control officer.
He does it for several, Mr. Freeland and Freeland.
Yeah, I'm not, that's the first I'm hearing about that as far as.
Never heard that one before.
let's just,
So the plow truck is paid off, right? Frank, the plow truck is paid off, right? Yeah. Okay. We still owe on the loader?
Yes.
We still owe on the loader,
About
yes.
50,000.
That could be taken care of.
Is it? I'm not sure. I thought it was about 50,000 still
I
owed
think
on
she
that.
How
said
much?
it's about 50. It's over 12 months, because she said it
We
was.
owe
A little
about
over 12
50,000?
months?
Yeah, it's definitely more than 1 year.
Can't hear you.
I don't really know what's going on.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
We looked that up that day.
Yeah, 29,000 or 28,000 is
It's a
paid every
little
year on it.
over,
but it might-
Gene, it's a little over a year's payments.
They're paid monthly, she makes a payment of
Right.
2,000 some dollars.
Came out of the sewer fund.
I think maybe
But
there's 18
We
months
should take
left.
it
or
out of the sewer fund and pay it off.
That's where it
But
came
if it's
out.
legally,
That's
legal,
where it's
we'll
still
pay
in.
it off
I
if
still
it
haven't
is.
figured out whether, how that works, I'm not
Get
sure.
that off your back.
Sorry.
Well, we need equipment, there's no question about it.
Yep. You know that.
Jeff, just let me interrupt, I have a quick question on overtime.
Which,
The overtime for the fire department, I know you have.
they're here.
In 2012, or 2013, you budgeted 19, it's up to 65. The other years, of course, we don't have the actual, you should have 12 actual budget too, and I remember telling at the last meeting, maybe you weren't here, I don't know if you were at the meeting, but we should have 12, in our, these
Should be actual.
numbers, you should have 12 actual.
Right.
Instead of 12 budget, that's stupid.
Right.
Or you could have it at additional. But what I'm saying is, we budgeted 19, we're up to, what is it? It's 66.
44.
And now, I know 12 was budgeted at 20,000, and I don't, what was 12, 60 or 70,000? Anybody know? It was a big number too. 50-some thousand, so we budgeted 20 and it was over 50,000. Now you're budgeting for 14, 35,000, well, why is that so low, or why do you think that's gonna be that low? And what are your initiatives to get that down to that much? Or why do you think you're gonna get it down that much? Are we doing something different, or did you tell?
Contractually,
Did you tell, well, maybe he could
Maybe.
enlighten us, or,
He's trying to answer.
okay, go ahead, go ahead.
I said contractually, there's an obligation there for mandatory manning, right?
Now, if,
Now, this year, we're going into negotiations with them. It's gonna be a different story.
Well, that's, okay, I know,
Okay.
I know, that's.
We've been trying to, but we can't.
And,
By
okay, now wait,
contract, cannot
are you
reduce
negotiating
that.
with the fire job? I'm just asking.
It's this year's, they're up, yeah.
Are you gonna negotiate, or should,
What-
we want to hire a professional negotiator, you can't,
We do have one.
you didn't have one for the police?
Yes,
or
we
the thing?
did. He was a consultant on it.
No, you told me, you
We
and Mary Ellen.
did the negotiation,
No,
we
wait.
did the hard stuff, and then we
You know,
brought it,
Donald and
we
Durant.
brought it before him,
Who?
and he approved it.
Who?
Dick Goldberg,
No,
wasn't it?
Dick Goldberg, what's he called?
You told
Berger,
me
Klugen,
at
and whatever.
meetings that you negotiated the police, you and
We
Mary
did.
Ellen.
We
And
sat
you
down,
told
we
me that you
negotiated it,
with
we checked with him. He said at the end.
With
that-
legal counsel. What
With
was it,
legal
Lawrence?
counsel.
Okay, but that's the
No,
end
it
of the
wasn't Lauren.
contract, though. That's the
Wasn't
end of the
Lauren.
contract after
No, it
you
was,
decided what was.
no, he had the contract before,
Okay,
and he had the contract after.
We're not gonna have, I don't care about.
You're
the
having
lawyer. I want a
professional consultant yet.
You shouldn't be negotiating that contract, and
Well,
I'm telling you, you're not
okay.
qualified, I'm not qualified.
Oh,
You're
then
not
that makes
qualified.
me not qualified.
You're not
Because you're
qualified.
not qualified.
Yeah. Well, you want me to tell you what the street person who negotiated, she told me she had a list of 25 things that she got. And I asked her,
You
how
chopped
much,
them down.
how many, what was
Yeah.
your list? And she told me you didn't have a list.
I didn't have.
You had
one.
nothing.
No.
So they got
I had-
25 things, we got nothing.
They didn't get 25.
You call that
They
negotiating?
didn't get 25.
We are gonna hire a professional negotiator to negotiate with the police,
With the fire.
With the
with the
fire.
fire. And you don't wanna do that. Tell
No,
me
I
you don't
don't
wanna
want,
do
I
that.
don't want to spend the money on that, no. I have him as a consultant.
Wait.
We conferred with him.
What do you mean you
through-
conferred? Did he
We
negotiate
conferred.
with
No,
them?
he did not get in there and negotiate,
You
and he
negotiated.
doesn't negotiate.
Okay.
They don't negotiate. Attorneys don't go in and negotiate.
What's the
We
average that the
negotiate.
fire pay in Pennsylvania for insurance, for the health insurance?
How the
Tell me
hell do
that.
I know? You
Well, then why
probably
are you
look.
negotiating?
Well, why should I know that?
You should know that if you're
Well, I'll
negotiating
get
a
it.
contract.
I'll get it.
Yeah, well, you
if
should.
I need
You
it.
don't know it now. Okay, let's move on to the next subject.
But wait, I have something to say. Campbell and Durant, I know because I saw their billing, okay?
They're no longer here.
But they did
They
contract
did some contract
negotiations
work,
for
yes.
the police department, but they weren't brought in, but they gave their recommendations to you,
Yes,
okay?
right. So,
And then you're saying to me
no,
that-
not me. I didn't use them. I don't think I used them on anything. I used Horger, Kluger, whatever they are. And
Campbell, we were
Quinn.
billing for Campbell and
Quinn.
Durant for
Yeah.
police negotiations.
we used it, and
Anyway, this fire overtime, if you're looking at some of these years with the 20,000, the 19,000, those were areas where, as I said, when the budget needs to be cut, that area was cut. Is it realistic to have done that? Probably not, but it had to be cut.
They used 66,000.
Well, and I talked to the chief about the 35, now maybe he would, right.
Yeah, exactly. So he was off, so is that what?
Firefighter that was off on county medical leave.
Right.
And then we also had for a month or 2 months where we had the changeover where we
From
didn't have a
Palumbo,
firefighter. And I understand, I mean, I understand the
No.
7%.
What I'm questioning, I'm not questioning that, the reasons for your overtime, I'm questioning the amount that we have in the budget. Should we bring it up to be, like, in case there are problems, like somebody,
So you're saying that's too low? 35,000 is stupid. We're idiots for putting that in there. I agree with you. We are idiots.
I will say the number, there was 2 numbers there. If you're looking at repair and maintenance of apparatus, I have a $3.1 million fleet of apparatus. That's the total cost of apparatus the city owns, estimated cost. And me and Steve had this talk, last year, the initial budget was $7,000. How do I maintain a $3.1 million fleet of apparatus at $7,000? It's very tough. When I buy tires for a fire truck, it's $2,000.
So it's at 20 this year.
I mean, that's why we raised it up. We brought it up this year.
Right, from 7 to 20, because the 7 is not a realistic number. Now, I thought, again, as we discussed, maybe 35 could still be low, but I think it was discussed in light of some of the things that happened last year. The Palumbo left, was not replaced for a couple months, and there were some other things that triggered a lot of overtime.
So how long
We
do you
don't
need overtime for
anticipate that.
Palumbo? 6 months? That's a lot of overtime.
2, yeah, it was a lot.
How much money roughly do you think that, you have no clue? Yeah.
I mean, right now we do have, and right now we do a federal grant in. We have a federal grant that has been applied for, that has been in since last year for 2 firefighters. If those firefighters if that grant is awarded, we can hire 2 firefighters for 2 years and no cost to the city.
yes, but after that 2 years, we still have to pay.
We're not, no, you do not.
You don't have to keep them.
You can substantially financially keep them, you don't have to keep them.
So then they would have to, all right. Okay, I understand what you're saying. And we
Yeah,
could
well,
cut the
that's it.
overtime because we have,
And I'll give you an
Good.
insight, you go on firegrantsupport.com, you can look about, there's the SAFER Act, there's the Fire Act, and there's the Fire Prevention Act. We've applied every year when the grant's open. Right now, we have 3 grants in the system that are applied for. I have a grant in for 2 firefighters, I have a grant in for a new piece of fire apparatus, a new fire truck, and I have a grant in for thermal imaging cameras. Now, we've been successful in getting, that's how we got the new ladder truck. The new ladder truck came from the Fire Act grant, which we got $666,000 from the federal government. It cost the city $75,000 for community development money.
have you done this before, apply for grants and?
We do
be
it, I
members?
can give you a memo, I can give you a memo since 2006, so I've been chief probably about $9 million in grant money to apply for.
No, I'm saying, apply,
No, we do, and this year, last year, the state finally let us, because the state always had a volunteer grant program. The state has a volunteer grant program every year, they let the volunteer companies, the 5 companies in the city, every year apply for that money and use that money to do either purchase equipment for the fire department, or as in the Diamond's case, they use that money to do renovations to the buildings that we didn't have the money to do.
okay, what I want to thank you for is applying for grants. And see, this is what we need to get through to the other departments.
And I'll go one step, I'd like to go one step further on the state grant, because Deputy Chief Van Dyke can back this up. This past year, the mayor and that noticed, we took the grant money we got this past year, we got And then we also did, we did repair, we had a gutter issue there, an icing issue. We put a heat tape unit up there to take care of icing issues because we didn't want, because there was causing a tremendous icing issue up there in the wintertime. To try to save our firefighters or anybody that goes into that building from falling, this new unit will eliminate that. And this year we have been granted again for $13,000. We're waiting for the state to give us the final approval. That money will be used to upgrade some equipment for our firefighters we're going to upgrade with. We need to purchase a new parts washer for saws, and we need to do, it's going to be service work on our 2 ladder trucks that we're going to put the money towards.
I'm not arguing.
No.
What I'm saying is I'd like to see, well, Frank, I'm saying,
We are not allowed to do that. We have no kind of funding.
you can't apply for grants.
Only police and fire. There's no grants out there for public works.
Nothing at all.
Not for highway trucks, other than local service grants. He did apply for 2 trucks.
But there's a whole lot of grants out there that we can seek for, that they don't have to be specifically for your department, but could possibly be utilized for your department. So that's the avenues we have to look at, getting
Well, like
grants for
I
you.
said, he's not a negotiator. I'm not a grant writer. I have no idea.
That's part of your job description.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
How about the 5th police car? Is that still coming
Yes,
from
it is.
transit?
If I'm not mistaken, we usually grants just used to do all of the grant writing.
I
Well,
know, and possibly that's what we need to look into.
What grants did the city get that they're not getting now? What did you get? What did she get that you're not getting now? To fund, there were no grants, or there weren't grants to buy trucks for the highway department. They're not grants to pay for people's salaries in City Hall, is what grants are you talking
When we
about?
were speaking about the grants and the different avenues to go through to get them, maybe you can enlighten.
No, but what grants did she get, or did the city get that we're not getting now?
No,
The fire has lots of opportunities for
I have no idea
grants.
on those, but I do know that there were, for example, when we were talking about, someone had just sent to me, and I think Mark just gave me some information on, again, right now, that Hazleton is eligible for neighborhood improvement zones. And some of that kind of stuff can be used for economic development, and when you're talking about streets and roads and repairs and things like that, those are the things that we should be doing. For any grants that are available through the Department of Revenue, through the Department of Economic Development, any of those things that are available, I'm sorry, but we should be getting writer's cramp, trying to get as many grants as we could.
There's a site on
Yeah.
the state site, grant funding opportunities available from PennDOT. There's restoration projects, highway transfer, annual maintenance, highway transfer, and there's local grants for bridges, and there's even county, grants for county bridges.
One of the ones that is very big right now in the state is through the Department of Revenue with those, and especially because they just expanded it, is through, it's an Act 85, I believe it was, but it's the neighborhood improvement zones. And we desperately need some of that. Now, Allentown.
And we did have meetings with a whole team from DCED.
Right.
There's a Main Street program, there's an Elm Street
Main Street,
program.
but this is through the Department of Revenue that this one came, that I saw.
There's a CRIZ program.
Right.
That's the one I'm working with,
Right.
Senator Deechek.
But that program, there's one of them, was at the NIS, I think, that it was funded, Allentown is involved in that.
Right, Allentown has been getting
But
about 7 or 8 grants out of that.
But the funding is finished for that. They're looking at adding additional monies to that program or expanding.
And the state is looking at that right now, so that, but you know what, again, these are the things that we have to be on top of all the time. These are the things that we have to be writing. These are the things that we need to get money, because if we do not, the city, and I think everybody's willing to agree with this, the city financially has its problems. And we've always had our problems, and we're always going to. So we need to do as much of the grant writing as possible. And when some of that money comes in, I would still argue that when that money comes on in, and we do have money, whether it be for streets, whether it be to buy a bucket truck, whether it be to buy to anything else, that's when it gives you the opportunity for money that you do have budgeted in here to be able to start moving some monies around, to continue to pay for and then utilize. this is a generalization. This is not a specific on any particular line item here. But this is what we need to be doing if we're going to help get the city out of the finances that it's in. I'm happy to hear that we are, or that we've made it through the rest of the year and still in the black, if I understood you correctly. But I think that still,
By our numbers.
you know, by maybe the skin of our teeth, but we shouldn't have to worry about the skin of our teeth, because you know what?
a
And it
budget
comes
is
down to this,
not-
Mayor.
the budget's not to make
If it's
profit.
going to be, no, and it isn't,
So,
but the fact of the matter
come with zero.
is that if we do end up, God forbid, somebody gets hurt in fire again, God forbid, somebody gets hurt just in working with streets, God forbid, a police officer gets injured, then, you know, how much more do we have to expend because of that? So we've got to look for...
Dave, I agree with you, but, and maybe what we should do is, you know, I know Senator Yudichik's office and Taratul, they have people who specifically work
Right,
with grants.
and we should be
work
working with
people,
those
should
people
be-
for that.
They should be.
But some of the
should be-
things that don't get out, and because we don't report of what everybody does in the city on every day that they're here, but there have been multiple meetings with Champ Holman, with a number of other people from DCED. They brought a whole team of people here that we interviewed with, we talked to, we spent almost a whole day with. We've had multiple meetings with them as what we can do. There's a progression to enter into various programs that we have to follow. There's a Downtown Alliance for Progress group
Yes,
that is
I've seen
formed because of those efforts.
Right.
And they're working on some of the initiatives to get some things done, and the city is a very active participant in that.
Yes.
We got that
I think
whole
we've all
process started.
talked with some of those people already.
And that's a good effort. There's,
Yes.
Our
Other-
comprehensive plan is obsolete,
yeah,
and that you have to have.
you have to have an
to
up-to-date
qualify for some
to
of
get
these-
into a Main Street or
some
Elm
of these
Street
main
type of.
streets.
Yeah,
So
and
there's
when
no,
we do it-
there's no saying here that we're not trying to get.
That's the
That's-
point, that there are
that's
things
not
that,
true.
either that or
We've been
there are also
trying.
things that we're looking at to try to save
Right.
money on things
Well,
too,
one
that
of
we
the-
work
Steve,
on.
one of the things these are commendable. We talked to the one lady that is on the planning and the whole nine yards. We have departments, and as I said, I like to treat them equally. They're able to get grants because they're available for the fire or the police department. His department, as he stated, which I'm glad you brought out, can't get the same grant availability as them. Their department is in dire need. They need roofs, they need garage doors, they need equipment, they need material to operate with. And we have to actively, God bless our fire chief, he knows how to go get a grant, and he has pursued it. We have to actively go out and pursue money through the streets department, because they are in dire need. That's the child that
We
needs help.
went out, if you remember, maybe you don't remember, how did they get a bucket truck?
Bucket truck
Yes.
came from the LSA, that came through the LSA.
Well, who got that? We did, right?
But what I'm
Well, how
saying-
did they get the little sweeper? Well, see, we're doing things, but you don't seem to recollect that.
No,
You don't
I-
remember that stuff.
The mayor was at a
We've
meeting
been
with the
trying to
governor,
get him
and they
equipment.
passed a bill, a transportation bill, that is giving the city $51,000 more in liquid fuels.
Yeah.
So the mayor was down at this event when that was presented by the governor. And those are some of the things we talk about to the legislators. You can't take highway aid was $540,000 in 13. This year's allocation is $510,000. He lost $30,000 in money.
Right.
That now, thank goodness, because of pressure from people, they've restored 51,000 to that. But the aid for highways is definitely harder to come by.
My question too is, how many grants have we applied for in the last 6 months or a year?
Every
Four-
department but the highway, like he said,
We-
the
we
fire,
s-
the police, they're always applying. We're failing, but they're
That's why I'm
applying.
saying this is the child.
The amount, I have no idea. We apply for we've always applied. I know you guys threw it on your agenda to make us apply, but we've always applied for LSA.
I was just
Always.
curious about
And now they open it up so wide, the competition is so great, it's really hard to get a grant, and you know that. I mean, it was just for municipalities, now it's municipalities,
And to-
nonprofits. the whole
To
works.
Frank's credit, he was able to find a truck that they need. Their fleet is very old. he was able to find a truck that still is in very good shape for $18,000. That's, I don't know what those costs new, 150 grand, 130 grand? Huh? Joe, so that was a good buy.
Yeah, and I'm not
We would,
arguing
we
that.
would have been lucky to get a
I
grant.
want
for
you
Notice
to
how
get
oftentimes
more,
I get
because I know you
recognized,
need
but that's
more.
okay.
These are the orphans.
Yeah. Okay, no, here's one of the things that I want, and again, I'm asking out of ignorance on this one, and Frank, maybe you can give it enlighten us, and Steve, maybe you've heard something about it too. The new gas tax that everybody is raving about, I'm sure, but we've seen now a gas tax increase, and it's supposed to go for streets, it's supposed to go for highways, it's supposed to go for bridges and all that. Are we going to see any of that within this year?
51,000.
Just the
Liquid fuel
51,000 that,
increase,
51 was,
And I think the
51,000.
mayor said it will
More,
pay
fif-
the half a block, if I'm not correct.
the total,
Yeah.
What,
right.
no, no,
It's
How
not
much?
a big increase.
but,
is the
but if,
total?
but if- no, but if I might add, that this, in the liquid fuels, we pay for the electricity for streetlights. I've personally worked and spent a lot of time trying to reduce those rates, and they're going to be reduced even further. We saved $30,000 from 13 to 14 on electricity rates, $30,000 we're gonna save. They cut us by $30,000, so now if they're restoring 50, the combination of some addition and some cutting frees up money to use to pave roads, which is what the goal is.
okay,
And
then you can
we're-
move others.
We're trying to leverage whatever we can to
Right.
make things work. Now, they should have done something to correct that highway aid some time ago.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Hey, that's for the 1 inch, right? What is it, inch? Inch and a half. That's, right. No milling, no nothing, that's just to lay a
That's no
mechanic.
curb cuts if you have to do curb
No,
cuts.
no.
Because curb cuts are 20,000 a block.
We didn't want to. We wanted to move it
Yeah,
around.
yeah, just overlaying if you don't have to curb cuts.
Oh,
is
actually,
33,000.
Joe and I were in agreement with
It's
that. I
33,000
felt it should
if you
have
have
been
curb
moved around, the sewer money.
And there was a grant application in for Wyoming Street for some work done there. And one of the things that I think Dominic pointed out in a memo is if you go in the city, if you're trying to pave something and you're restoring, you now have to redo the intersection, which is about $50,000 per intersection to make.
PennDOT came out with all different regulations about 2 years ago, where anything over an inch and a half, you gotta put curbs, you gotta put new handicap ramps,
So it limits.
plus an engineer design. So if you have 600,000 to pave, by the time you're done with all the above mentioned, you're left with half of that for actual paving.
We'll look at that. We'll look into it.
When I spoke to the
We'll look
fire
at
chief, he had told me about how they utilize that rubber roof for your garage or your fire station, that new roof. And they need a roof desperately. That's an accident waiting to happen.
Apply for a grant.
You applied?
We applied for the LSA grant.
Good.
Yeah, you voted.
Yeah.
You voted.
For the roof, okay.
The LSA grant.
Yeah, the LSA, but in case it doesn't come in, because like the mayor just said, we did do
If
that.
that don't come in, then hopefully we can go back to Donnie's contract.
We're gonna go an alternate route.
Donnie's,
But that has
that
to
wasn't a
put out
rubber
for
roof,
bid.
was it?
Yeah.
Was that
Yes.
spray?
Only be-
That was a spray on.
Only because it's a major liability happening there.
That was a spray on, not a
Yeah,
rubber.
it was a spray on rubber or whatever.
Yeah,
Because
we looked
Donnie
at
had
that.
talked to me about
We
it.
looked at that.
What else?
And there's something about the spray on that would have to be looked at too.
All right, you have more questions, Jeff? Go ahead.
The fifth police car, are we still getting that from transit this year, or are we gonna?
The revenue for that, I don't know, but the cost for that lease arrangement is $44,600 is in there.
Yeah, that was 4 cars, what about the fifth car?
Fifth car, we got a
Fifth
fifth car that we
that
didn't know where it
transit was
came
paying
from. It
for
came
it.
out of transit.
Are we still getting that, because it's zeroed out here?
This is budgeted to pay for the 5 cars. The transit is going to, they're not paying for a police car, but they are providing, we're going to enter into an agreement with them to provide services to them for an amount per month. But
Is
it's,
that still in, the fifth car is built into
Right.
the budget?
Right,
Five
that's,
cars
that's,
for 40.
if it's exactly, coming from
Yeah.
transit, it's not exactly coming from transit. I don't,
Did you have that on the new sheet? Absolutely.
It's,
Yeah.
the new sheet's like
Okay.
44,601, there's 5 police cars.
yes, that's
it's changed.
the lease amount for the vehicles. And the revenue is all thrown into a pot, and it's not specifically earmarked.
So they're paying, we're providing services for them.
No, we're not going, no, we're not.
No, not police service.
We're
We're
not.
gonna provide service.
Other maintenance in plowing services, things of that sort.
Okay.
Ralph?
Ralph,
The service that the city will be providing is plowing in the winter, plowing our bus lanes, also plowing the Mine Street bus lanes, the parking lot that we have next to the Candle Building, and also the highway department will be supplying us with sweeping, with their sweeper coming through our lanes and.
so it's services rendered, okay.
Right.
That's why that.
The city provides administrative services
Yeah, we took
for
that out.
transit as well, that is
It's a little
part of a,
neater.
part of a charge that we make to them. So the 5 vehicles are being funded in terms of the lease, and not specifically coming from
There's
transit.
still a couple of those, the incentive page, we have to put in a couple line items you gotta add.
There were not any line items added to this, that
I don't know.
some of the fire shows a line item specifically for incentive pay. I did not
But
add.
this is, if we're amending it, we change it, put the line items in.
I don't know if you
No.
can put line items in
Can't
or
put
not.
line items in now.
So no,
I don't
No.
know.
because you're missing.
There should
the
be some,
executive branch,
there should be incentive line items if that's something that's
financial,
paid.
there's a bunch of
There's
them.
zero.
So we gotta put them somewhere.
They're incorporated into these wages, I guess is where
Then they
come
don't match what I have for wages. But it's only a couple $100 there, but. The,
Just one question before, how hard would it be to put 12 actual in this budget? Just a line for 12 actual?
I'll see if I can get that, yeah. It would make more sense,
Yeah,
because
and I said that 3 or 4 years ago.
the
No, it
12,
wasn't.
the 12 budget probably
It's,
isn't correct, I mean, isn't,
Contracted
Yeah.
engineering
I'll
services.
try to,
There is no
Yeah.
12 actual.
no.
no, there's no 12, and I said that,
We
I
don't-
think when Mary Ellen.
There's a 12 budget, Joe, but no 12 out.
We don't have, I mean, that's,
12
I would
budget.
take off of the audit.
Okay.
The actual would come from.
Yeah,
I
but
would take
I would want to call them 12, if you can get that, put it in there and.
Well,
you know,
I'd probably replace this, or I could add it in.
Replace what?
I'd probably
No,
replace
no.
12 budget with
No,
12.
leave 12 budget in there, because
Okay.
that's okay, as long as
Okay.
you could add,
Another column.
there's enough room,
Yeah, I can do that.
just
If
add
it-
12 actual,
Okay,
okay? And we're gonna do that from now on.
all right.
Why are there engineering costs in the sewer trans fund for farming?
That title is wrong, that's the payment for the loader. It shouldn't say.
Where is it, what do you have?
Under sewer trans fund expenses, it says contracted engineering services.
It shouldn't, that's an equipment payment.
So that's a mistake.
The title is not
that's the
correct.
one, we made the transfer last week, that's the one.
So that is what? That's the payment?
For the loader, for a loader.
Loader.
While we're back at that, we'd have more, we should be expecting more revenue in that for this.
There might be some.
I
If we
don't-
add up 550,
trickle
we
in.
only got a couple, but I mean, it should be able to.
I don't have the actual numbers right here. I can get them for next time or send them out to you, but it's my understanding there's about $300,000 in sewer transmission fee money that had been billed out that we have not received yet. So I was in
So that would
contact
tack on to the other
with Modern
450
Recovery
Yeah.
will be
If we get it.
roughly 300,000 is still out
Yeah,
to be
but
collected.
it's something.
It's
that
out, it's
How
out
much
there
would you
because-
anticipate, actually?
Now,
But hopefully that we could collect it would be good.
I don't know what percentage of that is bad. They're working off files that came from
People get billed
Wilkinson
twice.
to Berkheimer.
Yeah.
That there are people
Yeah.
that,
I got
when they
billed 3
sent
times.
out
Yeah.
bills to people, they
Yeah.
got call after call that I already paid this. People
Right.
sent checks in proving that they paid
Well,
the money.
The
And
thing
they,
about Wilkinson, I argued here with Chris at one meeting, he was here, I don't think you were here, Joe, but I said we should have been suing them a long time ago, Don Wilkinson. We should have sued them
We were in
when
the
they were still in
process,
business.
we were in process of eliminating them. from
Well, we
here.
should have sued them. We
Well,
should have
yeah.
sued them
Well, I
for the
didn't-
mess. They had a
Well,
bond.
I was just gonna say, they had a
Luzerne
bond.
County sued them, and, you know, I don't know if they're getting any
They were
money. I haven't
totally
checked them.
inefficient, but we didn't have anything to sue, I didn't.
Well, they have a bond. They have a
But I
bond.
mean, we,
that's-
oh, you mean when they bellied up?
Yeah,
Oh,
even when they went up. Chris argued with me, I don't know, but Luzerne County already did. Whether they got any money, I don't know. I haven't checked with them lately, but I will check with them. But we should have been in line for whatever bonding they had, whatever, you know, whatever, even the bankruptcy court, if they went bankrupt, you're a creditor, you get something.
now, one of the
I
things
don't know,
with the,
I don't know if we were a creditor, or we didn't, or we weren't sure what was due us.
Well,
You know what I mean? There was
Yeah,
no records, they,
Commercial sewers, if
they-
nothing else.
you're
that
right,
was
it's
the
such a
business.
mess that, yeah,
was
you're
a
right.
total
you're right.
mess, right.
Yeah.
The sewer transmission fees that were billed out, it was not clear whether that particular charge could allow someone to have water service shut off to somebody if they didn't pay it. It's the belief now, I think, from Chris and the collection, Modern Recovery, that they would have the ability to have somebody's water shut off if they didn't pay the sewer transmission fee charge, which would make the collectability of these quite a bit higher. If you can shut off somebody's water because they didn't pay a bill, you're gonna be able to
Well,
collect it easier.
yeah, it depends on how it's billed and who's billing.
So that was something that was
Yeah,
gonna
but
be,
the sewer transmission, that's goes to the sewer authority.
we're still owed money
No,
from 11 and 12.
Well,
Yeah,
we have-
I know
If
we're all
SOAR
money, and
gets,
I had
if
asked
SOAR
about
has a
what
problem,
was
they
owed.
come to
Yeah.
water, and water would turn them off at times.
But anyway, that's something, there should be additional money to answer your question that should come in this year. If it's 29,000, 100,000, I don't know what the number would be, but. In the sewer transmission fee, it shows 29,785 in revenue, and that would be the payment to go to that loader.
Loader.
if it is complete. But that title for that is incorrect, it's
So
not.
do we have to put a different title and put it under,
no, you just keep it over there with a different title.
Let me see if I have what the payments are, I don't know if I have that expenses.
capital projects? It should be capital purchases. Am I right? Should go under capital purchases.
There is money, there's 450,000 in money in that bank account, could be used to just pay the thing off. That's what's.
No, I didn't see what we can do with moving it around. I don't, we have to look at things, what's the best way.
So this is just to keep that payment made.
But I'm
that's
just
all.
saying, instead of having it contracted, just
That-
move it up to the next line to capital purchases.
The title for that is
Jeff, were there
incorrect.
any other things that you were looking at?
It looks like we got most of them.
Most of them were
Yes.
switched. There's just a couple that were within a couple $100.
There are some that
I've
they,
been here the last couple of days trying to put it together.
if somebody received an incentive of $300 for not using any sick days, the taxes on some of those, as Jeff saw, were not added in. So the FICA, the Medicare for that $300 is not accounted for.
So that has
So-
to go back on in then, too.
So it could be $30 that should have applied, for instance,
Okay.
the $30 payment on some of them. I think the fire and police are already in there.
Yeah, they were in there, yeah, we got them in.
But there's some, it could be $1,000 that's not in the budget. That
My
really should
only
be.
problem with the longevity, again, is, first of all, I still, you know, I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around the longevity.
No.
And I gotta be honest with you, first of all, because I need to know, does every person who you have it for, and it just goes through a long list, does every person there get, is deserving of the longevity? Because what you're doing is,
Well, deserving or
I
the
mean,
law
do they meet, not
requires
deserving, do they meet the requirements for it, first of all? Do they meet
You
the
have to be
requirements for
employed
it?
here 2
Okay?
years.
Okay,
2 years,
and that's
you
what
get
I'm,
1%,
right,
and
and
the
that's what I'm
next 2, it's
talking.
another percent.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, number
Right.
one. And you've got some employees that I think you need to take a look at and see if they meet the criteria. Number two,
Well, we
it's-
don't
it's
give it
for-
to them
it's-
till they're here
It's
2
for the
years.
sick days, it's for the sick days and/or the vacation time that they don't take,
Yeah,
okay? Now, that's, the only way that I can put it is, I equate it to what it was in school systems, okay? Because I can wrap my head around that one. A person saves up his or her days through, and how many can you save here in the city? Can you save unlimited numbers, or how?
I think it's
Well,
different.
and by contract, how many would you be able to save, let's say, in fire?
Fire right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And personal days and everything else, how many can you save? Oh, just sick days.
oh, 26, I was wrong on that.
Is gone. Okay. Now, here's the problem that I have then. If we put that in right now, there are many people who are not up to, as of yet, the 220 days.
Retired with
So
226 days.
if we pay them the longevity now, are we not then duplicating it when they say, well, I didn't use my sick time, and now I'm going to use it at the end when I retire?
Yeah,
But we've already given them longevity on that.
longevity is different than sick.
Okay, see, now I'm understanding it differently then. I'm understanding it is for the sick time and the vacation days and all that, and...
No, longevity.
Okay, I need to have somebody define that for me better.
Longevity was something that the state gave to the employees of the city back when they were the lowest paid in. So they didn't have longevity, so, you know what I mean, like stay, they would move on, so they gave them longevity as an increase. You can't get rid of it now.
The fire, according to the fire contract, everybody that's a fire driver is paid the same amount of money.
Yes, I understand.
So the longevity would provide something to somebody who's been there 10 years versus you're there for 2 years.
Right.
It would show that there's a difference for their experience. They're paid for that. Why that's in some of the other things, I have no idea.
That's many years ago.
I have no idea.
Well, you're talking
You can't
past
change,
practices.
you can't get rid of it.
You're talking past practices. I'm just
He
trying to
thought
wrap
it
my
was-
head
He
around
thought
it.
it was,
I
It's
Similar
kind
to
of like going
different
to the
anyway.
right in a pay
That's
scale
where
as
he's wrong.
as a teacher. Well, how about we do it that way?
No.
It's
No.
like sliding to the
No,
right.
and only
But
because
no, I'm just saying,
I am,
okay,
I'm
or-
looking at,
or no,
because
no,
I...
sorry, not to the right. It's
Yeah.
like going down the pay scale.
It is going down
It's
the
going
pay
down.
scale, but, and again, I'll use myself. When I retired, I bought back days, instead of just like, you know, and sometimes it's been known to happen. You get sick and you just use your days, but I bought them back. But it's because I didn't use anything, and there was no longevity, there's no nothing. There was simply because I didn't use them, because I had had a heart attack, and I was always afraid that maybe I'd have another one, and I'd need the days. So I'm trying to wrap my head around it to understand it, and it's different here than it is with a teaching.
What might
salary.
help, what might help is what I budgeted for was what you might call a middle ground number. The police, I think if they use no sick days, the sick day incentive is $900. And then it drops from there.
But if they
now-
use
now
a
the
sick
fire
day-
might want to use that number.
But if
in
they
their
use a
next
sick
contract.
day,
But if.
then it drops.
And I think
And
fire.
it has to drop by,
yeah.
It drops quite
Okay.
substantially. Is
After
yours
three, there's
300?
nothing, right?
Fine.
Yeah, it's like.
Theirs may be
and
3, 2,
On the fourth one.
So I put a number in the budget,
Okay,
just to
and-
put a number in there, but the actuals, I think budgeted for sick day incentives is
Okay.
$38,000.
Okay. Yeah,
There is. I saw the
I've
contract.
got a better handle on it now.
Most of the
Again,
fire
and
don't
only
even get
because
that. Most of you
I'll
guys
be
don't
honest
even.
with you, I never saw this back in the 90s. I don't know that it existed or what, but I never really saw that before. And when looking at this, when I started looking at the budget, the incentive thing drove me crazy. I gotta be honest with you. It drove me
I'll
crazy.
get a list of
And that's
who
not
actually
an affront
collects
to
that.
you
Most of the
guys,
highway
okay?
guys get.
I just didn't understand.
Drives you crazy bad or drives you crazy that it should be?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, not bad or good,
I would
yeah.
incentivize people not to
Bad
take
and
it,
good.
'cause
I
think
just
it
didn't
saves money.
understand it.
Oh.
Okay, now I understand it. If it's the days that are sick and all that, but then that drops down.
Oh, yeah.
And we're good.
Now typically, if a firefighter is off, somebody in the office, if they're
Right.
sick, okay, that's, the person isn't there that day.
Right.
In their situation, somebody has to
Somebody
be
has
there.
to
So
be.
if somebody's sick, you're paying time and a half.
Then you're paying
Then you're paying overtime.
So the incentive may not be high enough, as they were saying, $300 may not be worth it, that maybe there's some other incentive that could get them to come in to cut down on the overtime end of it. You'd have to see how that balances out. But
Okay, thank you.
I'll get a list of the actual amounts that were paid out.
On our insurance, you said it went up,
Oh, that's what I wanted.
to what, 40-some thousand, 43,000?
The total insurance is, for what? For all the city insurance here, I think I have some
General.
packets. The worker comp went up about, might have been $80,000, and some of the other coverages went down. The net result was, here's, I don't know if I have enough copies. Here's,
Yeah, I have this, I think you gave.
well, I
think you
made
did.
some
I think you gave it to us.
annotations on here,
Yeah,
but
I think you gave this to us.
Okay.
So who wants to do it?
So the renewal was 777,000 for all of these, and the base was
Well,
734.
did you look into possibly looking at other companies or getting other bids, or why are we
Yeah,
just?
we did,
We did.
we did.
So this
Now,
is,
That's it.
I would say that this year, there should be an RFP put out this year in September, October, early in the process.
well, why not do that, yeah? Well, why not do it for this, or it's too late?
Too late.
It's too late.
Our
We
anniversary
did have,
is-
that was for 3 companies in town
Yep.
were offered, I talked to 3 different
No,
agencies.
3 companies expressed interest.
And they
So
came in,
we
we
did
gave them
this.
loss runs, we gave them forms,
They
we
did
filled
the
out
whole thing,
forms
but
for them
nothing
to get
happened.
quotes on, and neither of
Is
the
this,
other
this through a
companies.
broker?
And their claim was it wasn't enough time.
No, they just didn't.
3 different brokers?
Yeah, that's what I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Eastern, Dreyfus, and Joyce Chintz
Some
were
of the guys already go
offered
through.
the
One
opportunity
broker
to quote the
can
insurance
always
to the
last
city.
And whom did, or who?
The next
Eastern
broker
is the
Eastern
only
was the only one that came back.
provide quotes to
And
the
the third
city.
level, by the
Has
time
to
you
be a
get to
reason.
that one, you're out of luck.
They're saying they didn't have enough time, or?
There's
No,
a
it's-
said insurance is weird.
What
If you're
would-
the carrier or,
What would need to be done, if I'm a carrier and I provide coverage, and if there's 5 people that can supply that coverage, I'll send out to all 5 of you and get a quote. If I do that, it prevents him from being able to get a quote from
they
me.
only give a quote to one agent.
So what should almost be done is that a broker of record is what it is. So if somebody has a broker of record ability, it blocks anybody else out from getting coverage. And you can only give it to one person. So what has been done is that, say, you could get the broker of records to go to Travelers Insurance, you could get the broker of record to go to Harry, you could offer different companies, different carriers they could go to, and only those people. That way would give you some competitive type nature.
Well, I know, because the previous year, they saved us 50,000, now we're back up to the
Saves
safety fund.
120.
And you, well, the first
Yeah.
year, yeah, you're right.
180 and then, yeah.
But how do you know that you couldn't have saved 80,000 if somebody else could have provided it?
Yeah, if somebody
Well,
else
and
did
that's
it.
just it, brokers, and that's, I have a problem with, in some cases, the brokers on that kind of issue, but you're stuck. I understand you're stuck. Are there any, you know what, and let me ask this, and I took notice in the budget that we've gotten rid of all the dues and memberships. I would still, are we a member of the Pennsylvania League of Cities and Municipalities
No.
yet?
No.
We should be.
It costs $8,000.
$8,000.
Yes.
Oh, dear God. The reason why I say it, because you know what? It may very well even be through that. I would investigate
No,
it
Carol
because,
would know.
and let me,
I'm
here's
a
my reason
believer,
why.
I'm a believer in that. We were members, I attended everything.
I did
It
too.
was very worthwhile,
I did too, Joe.
but they came up and now saved 8,000
But Joe, here's
And
one of the
that's, I think,
reasons
a
why.
discount.
And here's one of the reasons why I think. Because they may very well be able to provide us with consortiums of insurance, as an example, with other cities that still might be worth our while to investigate. And for that reason, I would look into it. I'm not telling you that you have to join it. I don't have that authority anyway. But I do think that it might be worth an advantage of looking and talking to other municipalities that are close by to see if any of them do their, and get their insurance by way of that, because for an $8,000 investment to save $30,000, guess what? You're still $22,000 ahead. And I think that's worth taking a look at.
Well, I think you had mentioned that the mayor wouldn't like to be in that, but it was, I think, just cost
Yeah,
prohibitive.
I'll be honest with you, in years gone by, when we were part of it, we went to many of their conferences and meetings, and they always provided a boatload of information.
I'll take
and
another look at what
And
the
I
cost
agree,
would be.
I agree with Dave, that's
I'll
a good
take a
thing, and
look.
I agree with you. You get a lot of information, you get,
I'll see
you
what
could
that
say,
would
you can
cost.
go to
Yes,
one
please.
convention or one seminar and get an idea that could save.
Right.
That we went to the one in Reading when we,
Right,
That's why you have the Mountain City
I went
Council.
to them all.
Yeah, they were great.
I have my own ticket,
Yeah,
you know, but,
I paid my own way.
yeah.
I paid
they
my
were
own
well
way, I'm
worth it.
sorry,
No,
but-
They're all in Pennsylvania, so it's
And
not.
it's worthwhile. It's very, very
Not in
worthwhile.
California,
And you do a lot of
Nationally.
networking there that you can find out from a lot of other municipalities.
Matter of fact,
Things that they're doing and get great ideas.
I was on the board. I was a board of directors.
Yeah, I was made treasurer and then I lost.
No, of,
Not treasurer, but secretary.
no, of the state,
Oh, I'm sorry.
state, not the local. No, I was a board of directors on the
I
state.
was in northeastern Pennsylvania.
But, well,
Yeah, I'll definitely
Okay.
take a look at that.
we
Yeah,
have
please do,
time.
please do.
Let me just say one last thing here that, and I'm gonna compliment Steve. Steve really worked hard on this. I mean, he went out of his way to trying to get this, and you guys, you know, asked a lot of questions, which gave him a little bit of direction, and I wanna thank you for that. What we're asking for you is to, put this on the, to have it on the agenda for Tuesday's meeting, approve it on first reading, get it out to the public, get their comments, get your ideas. You still have time to go second and third reading, you can do whatever you want to, but this, we feel, is a sound budget, and approving it on first reading is not giving in or anything like that. It's just to get it out to the public.
And I tried to add comments on what some of the line items, what they were. I have a lot more detail in this that I could have this available for what really, you could look at what bills or who was paid under each line item.
Yeah,
to
I'm
see.
sure we'll have more questions, maybe the.
Because some of those
council,
aren't very
If you do, I think
self-explanatory.
Steve can answer everyone. So,
Whether through email.
thank you.
Excuse me.
And I think, I'm sorry.
Well, I just have one last question, and it's before, I don't mean to belabor this, please. One of the things is that when you're talking the airport, and we have the city guys on now, are the wages and all that, is that worked into the airport, or is that worked into the city? Is it split up? If they're working out at the airport, that's airport reimbursement, okay?
Now, is that in your budget?
And we
there,
got
Steve?
that, we got that, okay, that's all I want to know.
Yeah.
And also, Steve, did you ever get up a number of what it cost us last year with them, or how did you do that? Frank,
I don't have that. We have
do you have an idea how many man-hours you sent out to the airport? And you
Angela
keep
needs to
track of that?
compute that.
Does somebody track that? Could you get that to Steve, and Steve will get it to us? The man-hours that you spent out there. Have you been doing that lately, or how?
No. It's in the back because we're getting,
Well,
We're gonna get money in
the
this year.
total man-hours
we're getting, that's
to
separate from the
Steve, and
budget.
he'll give it
We'll
to
get,
us?
yeah.
It's separate from the budget.
I can't hardly hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
We spend a lot of time out there at the airport. They've been reimbursed for it, but we turned that place around. It really looks good. It's now profit, not a profit maker, but it's carrying its own. And compliments from the FAA on what we did out there is great, so.
Okay.
And we have more coming.
Yeah, I know. We were informed a little bit. Any other
Good.
questions, and we'll wrap it up, and then if you have questions, maybe, either
Yeah,
email to Steve or
Get
make a
get it,
list.
anything about the
spent
budget.
lots of
tell
time
us.
with Steve. I'm here since 11 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
here.
See, Jeff does it.
Maybe you gotta hire him.
Birthday party to get to.
It's over.
Gotta hire him.
As soon as he learns, we're gonna hire.
Well,
Okay.
and I don't want to, first of all, and
That's
I'm
okay, I
just-
paid
this
for it,
is
I
more of
missed
a comment than a question or anything. I want to thank everybody tonight, and I think it just goes to show that we can, this was the best work session on a budget that I've seen in the last couple of years, because we sat down, we talked things on out.
Oh, it did
and we
start
got
out
it done.
right,
Well, it may not have started out right, but we finished okay. And we're all smiling when it's finished, so you know what? I think we did a good job.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Heading out.
8 o'clock and we're done. Jeez. And you didn't have overtime.